بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألف لام ميم ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين.
Interpretation of the Holy Quran.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. With the help of Allah, we have started to have a concise interpretation of Quran. We reached to chapter Baqara, the longest chapter of Quran which is revealed in Medina. Please listen to verse 221.
ولا تنكحوا المشركات حتى يؤمنوا ولأمة مؤمنة خير من مشركة ولو أعجبتكم ولا تنكحوا المشركين حتى يؤمنوا ولعبد مؤمن خير من مشرك ولو أعجبكم أولئك يدعون إلى النار والله يدعو إلى الجنة والمغفرة بإذنه ويبين آياته للناس لعلهم يتذكرون.
And do not marry the idolatresses until they believe, and certainly a believing maid is better than an idolatrous woman, even though she would please you. ولا تنكحوا المشركين حتى يؤمنوا ولعبد مؤمن خير من مشرك ولو أعجبكم. And do not give believing women in marriage to idolaters until they believe, and certainly a believing servant is better than an idolater, even though he should please you. أولئك يدعون إلى النار والله يدعو إلى الجنة والمغفرة بإذنه ويبين آياته للناس لعلهم يتذكرون. These idolaters invite to the fire, and Allah invite to the gardens, to the garden and to forgiveness by His will, and makes clear His communication to men that they may be mindful. In previous section we talked about this verse, that from this verse until next 12 verses Allah is talking regarding two different issues that have a relation with the wife and husband and family relation. In this verse Allah says a Muslim is not allowed to marry to a lady who is not a believer, is a idolatrous woman. She worships an idol. She doesn't believe in any holy books like Old Testament, New Testament. Either he worship, I don't know, the different items or different people. He believes on partners for Allah. A man cannot marry to such a lady, and Allah says even if she surprises you and she pleases you, still you are not allowed to marry to such a lady. And also a Muslim lady is not allowed to marry to an idolater, a man who does not believe in God at all, or he believes in different gods. He is not a Jew, he is not a Christian, he doesn't believe in holy book, any holy book. A Muslim lady cannot marry to such a man. And this Islamic law is accepted by all Muslim scholars. Because Allah wants to say that to marry to such a man or such a lady will have a negative effect on the children, and you are not allowed to marry to such a man or such a lady unless they change their mind and they believe in God. There are a few messages that we can get from this verse. One, we will understand that Allah will pay a lot of attention on the family atmosphere. To marry with the non-believer, idolatresses, definitely has a negative effect on each other and children. As Allah says, أُولَٰئِكَ يَدْعُونَ إِلَى النَّارِ, because Allah wants to inform us that this is a wrong idea and the result for idolatresses is fire and hell. And when you marry each other, it means the one who does not believe in God invite another one to the fire, because he or she has a wrong idea. Then Allah says, وَلَأَمَةٌ مُؤْمِنَةٌ خَيْرٌ مِنْ مُشْرِكَةٍ, and certainly a believing maid is better than idolatrous women. Allah says, we know that we believe in free men or women, hur, or ameh. Ameh is a maid servant. A maid servant, a one that at the beginning of Islam, of course, some they were owning men and women, and after that Islam came and at the beginning approved, and he encouraged people to buy them and free them. And these women, maid or a slave lady, did not have a lot of respect in the viewpoint of free men. And Allah says, even if she is a maid, but this is much better than a lady. She is free, but she doesn't believe in God. So Allah wants to say that the main issue is believe, not to be very beautiful or not to be very rich or not to be very, very educated person. Unfortunately, today it happens that some Muslim brothers or sisters will ignore this issue, that belief is the most important things in our life. It affects all dimensions of our life. And Islam says you cannot marry such a man or such a woman. By different words, Allah emphasizes that you should not focus on their beauty or their handsome or their some attributes which attract people or their financial situation. Allah repeats this word 2 times. He says, وَلَوْ أَعْجَبَتْكُمْ, even if the ladies please you, or وَلَوْ أَعْجَبَكُمْ, even if the men, when they are idolaters, if they surprise women, Muslim ladies. It means even if they surprise you, and Allah repeats 2 times, it means they have very good attributes, very good moral, very rich, very educational situation. They are very educated women or men. Allah says, don't pay attention and don't deceive by these attributes. The most important issue is believing in God. Then Allah says, when Allah says, وَلَأَمَةٌ مُؤْمِنَةٌ خَيْرٌ مِّن مُشْرِكَةٍ, and certainly a believing servant, maid is better than mushrikah. Believing servant or maid is better than a mushrikah. It means idolatrous woman. And also, وَلَعَبْدٌ مُؤْمِنٌ خَيْرٌ من مشرك. And also, the man, certainly a believing servant, is better than an idolater. Allah wants to say that although she is a maid or she is a servant, but in the viewpoint of Allah, piety is the most important thing, and belief is the important thing. There is a possibility that a maid, servant, a lady which is a slave, or a man which is a servant, will go to paradise much, much easier than a man or a lady, a woman which is free, is hur. Why? Because inna akramakum indallah atqakum. When you look at others, when you deal with others, Allah wants to say, look at their beliefs and their religion. What is their religion? Do they practice the religion or not? Brothers, sisters, one of the most important issues that in marriage we should focus on that is believing in Allah and practicing religion. Many things we can ignore, but believing in Allah, it is impossible to ignore it. Then Allah says, Hatta yu'min or Hatta yu'minu. Until that man, it means idolater, will believe. You are not allowed to marry them until he changes his belief. Or a woman, Muslim. And also Allah says, وَلَا تُنْكِحُ الْمُشْرِكِينَ. And also don't give your daughters to idolaters حَتَّى يُؤْمِنُوا, until they believe. Of course, Allah wants to say that you must wait until they change their mind and their belief and religion. So, لا تنكحوا المشركات حتى يؤمن. You are not allowed to marry two idolatresses until they change their mind and they believe. And also from the other side, also a Muslim lady is not allowed to marry idolaters, men who do not believe in Allah until they believe. So Allah wants to emphasize that the limit of that is belief. When they change, it is accepted. There is a question here that, okay, what about if a person only says, okay, I believed in God and Prophet, this is enough, or he should practice the religion? For marriage, it is enough. If he says, I testify to God, there is no God but Allah, and I testify that Muhammad is the Prophet of God, this is enough for the marriage. It is considered in Islam as a Muslim. But real Muslims, no. If somebody asks me, that's enough to marry, I say for the marriage is very, very difficult, and such a lady is going to face serious problem. But for marriage, yes, when he accepts Islam with this sentence, that's enough, and practice is not necessary. Allah wants to say that when Allah says, وَلَا تُنْكِحُ الْمُشْرِكِينَ حَتَّى يُؤْمِنُوا وَلَعَبْدٌ مُؤْمِنٌ خَيْرٌ مِّن مُشْرِكٍ. Allah wants to say that do not give your daughters to the idolaters. It means Allah wants to confirm that men have the authority and guardian to their daughters. Don't give it to them. It means when a girl wants to marry, she needs the permission of her father when she wants to marry for the first time. And we may understand also from this sentence. I don't want to say that this is the reason, but it is also good signs that Allah says, وَلَا تُنْكِحُ الْمُشْرِكِينَ حَتَّى يُؤْمِنُوا. Don't give your daughters to the mushrikeen, it means idolaters. أُولَٰئِكَ يَدْعُونَ إِلَى النَّارِ. Allah is telling the telling us that these people are inviting to fire. It means idolaters or idolatresses are inviting to the fire because they have a wrong idea and they encourage others to join them. And because of that, Allah says, it is as they are inviting to the fire and hell. Wallah yad'u ila al-jannah. Allah is inviting to paradise. It means when Allah has ordered you something and you follow and practice it, this is like invitation to go to the garden, to paradise. Then Allah says at the end, لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَذَكَّرُونَ وَيُبَيِّنُ آيَاتِهِ لِلنَّاسِ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَذَكَّرُونَ. And Allah explained His verses to the people, His communication to the people, and His signs to the people. They may remember. They may remember. It means Allah wants to say that they know already. By their nature, they understand what is good and bad, but in such a way Allah will say His communications, His signs again until they remember. By our nature we understand that there is a God. By our nature we understand, if we think properly, that there must be one God, unity of God. But Allah says again, we say to the people, I say to the people until they remember. Thank you very much for watching. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.